I am the Professional Development Manager, Youth Initiatives Lead at the National Youth Leadership Council. And I have here with me...
Hi, this is Marcus Penny. I am the GSN and Communications Associate at NYLC.
And Marcus is going to help us make this run fairly smooth. So.
Yeah, I'll have some instructions. We'll wait a couple more minutes, let our partners present themselves here quickly, and then I'll have some instructions just for technical details if anyone has any questions. So we'll get to that in a second.
Okay. So thank you, Marcus. I'm very fortunate to have Bridge Builders as a partner for my webinar today, and Bridge Builders has really exemplified what it means to be moving from service learning to social justice, or utilizing service learning to creating social justice and social change within their community. And Bridge Builders is coming and joining us from Memphis, Tennessee. I'll let the young leaders introduce themselves, and then we'll have the adult support introduce herself, and then we'll move forward.
Okay. Hello, my name is Terry Stewart. I'm in the center of that photograph. I'm 17 years old. I go to Central High School here in Memphis, and I've been a part of Bricolage Change for 3 years.
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Abbas Tassi. I'm a junior at Cordova High School here in Memphis, Tennessee, and this is my second year in the Bricolage Change internship program.
And hello, my name is Dana Wilson, and I'm the Vice President of Bridge Builders, and I've had the pleasure of working as the adult support for these youth for the past 3 years.
So if you have any questions, feel free to just type in your what you'd like to know in terms of logistics over to Marcus, and we'll get that fixed on our end. So we were able to introduce ourselves, our partners again, Bridge Builders Change. And I want an opportunity to have all of you introduce yourselves and utilize the tools that Marcus had just referenced. So in our next slide here, you'll see our great United States map. And if there's an arrow on the top left corner, if you can click on the arrow and place it on the map here of where you're coming from, so we can see who we're working with today. We have Lauren, Josiah, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Megan and Mark from California. I see Khulud from Washington, Amanda, Tina, Nicole. We have ourselves here, the National Youth. I think I see an overlap there from Minnesota. We have Lacey from Alaska. Welcome. Dana, Emily. Dana and them is from Memphis, so we have Emily also from Tennessee. Brenda from our great state of North Carolina. Sarah from Virginia. Bob from Maryland. Christy from Ohio. I think I saw Josh write in the chat box, aloha from Hawaii, so we have our cousins from Hawaii joining us today too. I see Carmen writing in the chat box that she's from Oklahoma. Paul, also from Oklahoma. This is great. We have great representation today. Welcome, everyone. So I'm super excited. We have really good representation of our nation joining us today for our webinar. I just want to walk through our, let's see, do we have someone else that is joining us? Anna from Oakland, California. And do I see Candace? Candace says she can't hear me. Let's see. Oh, we have a few folks from Hawaii. We have Josh, Kirk, Nicole, Debbie, and Dan. Welcome. And then Carmen, try clicking on the arrow in the top left corner and then clicking on the map. I hope that'll work. And then we also have Maria from Alaska. Quite a good attendance here. And then we have Matthew joining us from La Crosse, Wisconsin, a neighbor state. All right. And Candace, where are you joining us from? All right. This Wonderful. I see Christiane from Delaware. And Mark is floating off into, okay, there you are. Came back to Florida, or California. Okay, why don't we go through the agenda for the day so that we know what we're up against. So we'll be going over the goals for today. Bridge will share with you, Harris and Abbas will be sharing with you a little bit more about what Bridge Builders Change is all about, and then also the tools in which they use to create social change. So you see the steps of nonviolent social change. And then we'll close out the webinar for the day. The hour's going to go by quite fast. So the goals for today. We're really going to talk about how we can connect service learning projects to address social change. I know a big question is, how do you move service learning to creating social change? So at NYLC, the National Youth Leadership Council, we have a SMART handbook that focuses our service learning projects on the achievement gap, and youth being very much the key stakeholders in creating the solutions to address the change within their communities. So we really try to stretch out that piece. As we move along the webinar addressing our goals, you'll notice the cycles of service learning surfacing through the steps in which Paris and Abbas will be sharing, really addressing the key community issues and creating solutions to them by engaging the community themselves. I also want to reference the NYLC K-12 Service Learning Standards for Quality Practice. You see kind of an image of our LIFT website. These are the 8 standards that really speaks to what Paris and Abbas will be sharing later today. And our 8 standards being meaningful service, link to curriculum, reflection, diversity, youth voice, partnerships, progress monitoring, duration, and intensity. And if you're not familiar with our standards for quality practice of service learning, I would encourage you to visit our GSN website. That will pop up after the webinar here. That'll give you more information about them each. So one of the tasks I'll assign you all as you pay attention to the webinar today is to really see where those standards kind of shine through as Abbas and Paris speaks about their projects. So the next 2 goals, I'll hand that over to Dana to share with us.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. We're really excited to be presenting this webinar alongside of the team. And I think you'll see that the work that Bridge Builders are doing really does align well with those standards for quality service learning. And so we'll be touching on some of those as we move forward. And you'll learn from several of our youth directly the things that they do. So some specific goals around that is we're going to be identifying the steps to creating nonviolent social change. Students are going to present this specific social justice framework, and I just want to note that while the framework is listed in steps, the work is pretty circular. We're constantly looking at the entire framework and kind of doubling back on the process. So pay attention to the steps, but recognize that this is it's a cyclical process. And then also sharing, our third goal is to share some tools to empower service learning educators to positively affect social change efforts. So we're going to, actually Paris and Abbas are going to share some of the tools that we actually use on a yearly and sometimes daily basis. And the students are going to walk you through the tools and explain how you use them. And we hope that you'll see through their example that it's a great way to build strong leaders in your group. That can think critically about problems and solutions, and that can plan and actually execute effective projects that have tangible social justice outcomes in your communities and that are really youth-led and youth-directed. So those are our 3 goals for the day.
And so hello, everyone. My name is Abbas. So to start things off, we would like to show just our Bridge Builders Change video. just basically highlighting some of our accomplishments and just detailing what we do here in Memphis to better our community. So whenever you're ready, Marcus, let's do it.
Hi, my name is Abbas. I'm 15 years old and I go to Cordova High School. Being a leader is it's kind of hard because I don't know how you can be a leader in class. I don't really just try to step out there and be a leader. I went to the Dr. King Connect event. They told me about Bridge Builders collaborating. I was like, why not? That collaborate it's kind of weird the first day. No one really talked to each other. We were all like strangers. And there you go. There you go. The second day, we did a couple of activities to get us out of our comfort zone. People who didn't want to speak out, they had to be forced to speak out. And I know I felt that way. I was like, why am I up here? Probably the third day, everybody knew what we were going to do and how we were going to end up becoming a leader. And this was the type of skills that they were trying to teach us, to speak up and speak out and meet these new people that I never knew. And now we become like family. So.
1, 2, 3.
Hello?
Is this a boss?
Yeah.
I just want to say congratulations, that we'd really like you to be a part of Bridge Builders teams this year.
Are you serious, or is it like a little
No,
game?
this isn't a joke. This is
I've
for
heard.
real. We're totally serious.
Thank you.
Bridge Builders Change is a diverse group of 12 youth.
And our job is to advance social justice in Memphis.
We're just youth who want to make a difference, and we believe that we can make that difference.
The first thing that we do is attend a training seminar for 1 week at Highlander.
It's actually where Rosa Parks and Dr. King were trained back in the civil rights movement.
Going into Highlander, I actually knew nobody.
We get there and we check everybody out, make some friends. We do a lot of team building exercises before we get to the mental part of the work.
We learned about all sorts of skills that we brought back to make Memphis a better place.
One of the hardest things at Highlander was probably coming up with one issue.
Most of the issues that we picked revolved around school and students.
Problems exist within schools, and we as students experience them every day.
We decided to work on the establishment of a student congress,
which is a mechanism to increase youth voice in the unified Shelby County school system.
It's going to include students from all across Memphis and Shelby County. We had to make sure that everyone else agreed.
We want to address the problems that might be present in our schools.
First, we conduct participatory action research. We conducted a survey throughout all of Shelby County and Memphis. We had interviews to get information that the survey couldn't provide, and really to build up our argument for a student congress to present to the school board.
Your Congress has to make an action plan,
which included facilitating at collaborate events, connect events, hosting our own events, to get the word out about the Student Congress and to have other youth along our side to support our cause.
And that was one of our things, was building a peaceful army of youth, gathering a lot of youth around us so we can be an unstoppable force. It really got me the experience to come out here and just lead and without just carefree and just like, I know what I'm talking about and let me just facilitate it to the rest.
They'll be working with policies, the creation of policies.
Very scary having all those eyes on you,
But you two, you got power.
So you have to learn to just get through the fear of having others judging you and do what you need to do.
The understanding of civic and governmental processes.
So after gathering the data, we're going to use it to change the system and change policy in the school system.
We've constructed a report and crafted a policy alongside the policy directors and MCS to actually implement to the new school system.
We have student opinions included in our structure, so we're trying to make sure that it fits everyone's needs, not just ours.
The work was tremendously huge. It's an enormous amount of work.
But it is a very, very rewarding experience, and not really anything can compare to it.
After everything that we've done here, just because I'm a student in the school system doesn't mean anything. Your voice is larger than what anybody else is. So I definitely feel that after all the experience I've had and knowing how to do this work, I can definitely make a positive change. I definitely can say now, I'm a leader.
I know I want to come back to Memphis because here there's so much potential, but all it needs is people who will work with it and make it a better place. I can't see myself doing anything else besides that now.
Memphis is a great city, but it also has problems. And now knowing what I know now, a youth like me can just take a stand and create a change in their community regardless of what the problem is. I'm a boss Pathy and I'm a bridge builder.
Okay, so just to recap, if you were wondering who the scrawny kid in the beginning of the video was, please don't tell my dad. That was me. When I first started my work here at Bridges, I really kind of didn't know what I was getting myself into, really. But after learning and being here for a while about all the injustices we as youth face in our school system, it kind of gave me that push and motivated me to push for the work of youth voice and even further, because as students, it's our education, and we deserve to have our voices heard. So with all that, I'm going to pass it now to Pearsburg, and she's going to continue the webinar.
Okay, hello, it's Paris again. So Bricolage Change has done so much amazing work over these past few years. Like the video showed, we've done a lot of research. We wrote a student commerce policy in collaboration with district staff. And the policy just passed 2 weeks ago, an exciting unanimous school board vote, so that's really exciting. We facilitated hundreds of learning sessions for hundreds of youth, rather, about our education system in our county and issues that they can have an impact on. We've led several youth letter writing campaigns and hosted events about youth voice and leadership in our community. So we've done so much work, and we're very proud of our accomplishments. So next we'll move on to a full value contract. And this is something we start every year with, a full value contract. It is a tool that is to express norms and expectations for ourselves and act as a living document so we can maintain a safe space within the group and identify what behaviors our group will need to be successful in order to complete goals of the program. And today you will all have the great opportunity to actively participate in your very own full value contract along with my fellow presenter, Abbas.
Yes, so like Paris said, this activity is one of the first things that we do at Highlander, where we use it as a living document throughout the year. So I'm pretty excited because this is the very first time we've actually done this activity on a webinar, so this should be awesome. Now, in order for this webinar to be as amazing and accessible as you guys can possibly think of, can I get you guys to think of 1 or 2 words that you feel will help make this webinar successful? An example of a word might be if you have your cell phone next to your computer during this webinar and you want to get as much information and knowledge from this webinar without being tempted to use your phone, you might want to use the word focus. So that was just an example of a word, but I bet, you guys probably have better ones, and we want to hear those words. So whenever you get your word, feel free to write the word down in the chat box, and we'll write them down on the document.
So Matthew has engagement down.
Awesome.
And I'm having a struggle here, but we'll make it through. Engagement.
I see participation from Isla. If I mispronounced your name, I apologize. Connecting ideas from Tina. Fully present from Brenda. I like that a lot. These are all fantastic.
I write them all down if anyone doesn't like them. Thank you very much.
So if there are any more, okay, we have actively involved from Nicole. I like that, Nicole.
Coffee from Josiah. I can appreciate that.
We all need coffee even during the webinar.
Communication. Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah.
Sense of humor.
Sense of humor.
Mark, we've got that down.
Mark. Communication. Okay. Critical dialogue from Bob.
I also enjoyed T. Matthew. Thank you. Passion. We love passion.
From Paul. Okay, so I see there are a lot more coming in, but due to time, I think we might need to stop so we can keep going with the webinar. So if you guys feel ready and comfortable to move on, if you could type an exclamation point in the chat and send it in, please. Okay, I see exclamation points from Amanda. Sylvia. Oh, they're coming in now. Okay. Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Okay. So, excuse me. We have Dr. King's 6 steps to nonviolent social change. I'm sorry. And first, we're going to start with step number 1, which is to gather information. So, we're going to go through each of these steps in order, and then I'm going to tell you about it in context. So,
okay, so the first step is gathering information. Step 2 is educating others. Step 3 is remaining committed. Step 4 is negotiation. Step 5 is take direct action. And step 6 is reconciliation. So during this webinar, we're going to be going down and help better describing each of these steps. So moving on to the next slide, we have step 1, which is gathering information. So gathering information is basically doing your homework in the research stage. So in order to gather information, you must learn all you can about the problems you see in your community through the media, civic organizations, and also by talking to the people involved. An example from our work is our method of research that we use is called participatory action research, which we call PAR. And PAR is a research used to understand the world by trying to change it collaboratively and reflectively. We utilize this method by surveying over 2,000 of our peers in the school systems, conducting key informant interviews with experts in education, leading focus groups with stakeholders such as parents, teachers, students, and principals. Also, that's just a method that we use. Participatory action research is. If you would want to do participatory action research, there are a lot of great research resources online and books about youth-led participatory action research.
Thank you, Bob. I was struggling for a while, sorry. Okay, so steps 2 and 3, educating others and building commitment. We use those in conjunction together. So by educating others, and we also commit ourselves, and we use our problem tree, the strategy chart, and team building exercises as a useful tool to do these things. So the problem tree, first of all, is used to assess the issues that are visible in our lives and determine their root causes. And a problem tree is one of the first things we do at Bridge Builders Change. It allows us to connect what we see in our everyday lives to deeper systemic and cultural problems like poverty and racism. And with the strategy chart, we use our strategy chart to identify goals, objectives, as well as tactics to reach them. And in our wall on our workroom at Bridges, we have this giant strategy chart. It's huge, and it's the guide we use to work by throughout the whole year. And we use sticky notes that can be changed around as the project grows and matures and changes. Also, team building. We, as you see on the photo there, that is the human knot. Team building is a very important aspect to educating others and building commitment. We use these to mold the group into stronger relationships. And so we use a lot of experiential stuff, like the human knot there, that can build a physical connection between group members in order to strengthen our group for the year to come. So those are 2 of the techniques we've used. And now we're going to go on to the problem tree. So during this activity, we're going to look at what the direct causes of the problems we face in our communities are. I'm going to use this intro to help explain the problem tree, so just sit back and listen. Once upon a time, a bad seed was planted, and over time it grew into a very large problem tree. Its roots stretched deep underground. Its trunk was thick and its branches strong. It grew many leaves. The many problems on the leaves were merely symptoms of a deeper problem leading back to the roots. Today, the leaves are the most visible part of the tree, and the branches and trunk. But the roots are mostly hidden. They hold the tree down and give it support. So if you can, please download the document. I'm going to give you some time, the problem tree document, so you can pull it up and we're going to work it through together. Coming up. Okay, so I've got a couple. If it's okay, I'm going to move forward. Okay, they're coming. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to ask you a question. So think to the students you work with. What problems would they say if you ask them to write down the problems they see every day in their school? So what would they bring up? Remember to keep it tangible, observable problems, and you're going to write these down in the chat box, and I'll share what you all are chatting, and we'll take an example to talk through the problem tree model together. So we have bullying, lack of teacher engagement. We've got drugs. Anything else? Disconnected adults, achievement gap, teen violence, teen suicide, problems at home. So I think I'm going to take the bullying example. So to start off, we're going to ask, why does bullying happen? So you may ask you. Yes, Dana can help me with this. Thank you, Dana. Okay, so parents, so why do you think students bully each other? Well, students might bully each other, Dana, because there is they have problems at their house. So there might be some problems at home. Yes, like we saw in the chat box. So why are there problems at home? Well, there might be problems at home because people have not a good way to engage with each other in a family. So why do you think there are problems in the way students are engaging in their family? Well, that could have a systemic impact. So the parents might be working really hard and not be able to engage with their kids in an effective way. And so why is that causing bullying? Well, there's a lack of support for families in need in our country, and that's a major problem. And the kids don't have a place to go after school where they can relieve their parents. So why do we have a lack of support in our country? Well, there isn't on a governmental level, the access to those resources. Yeah, so why are there, well, does everybody have a problem with access to resources? No, only certain communities do, impoverished communities do. So why are certain communities impoverished? Well, that would lead to things like racism and classism that are root causes of that problem. So maybe if we looked at those things a little bit more and thought back and sort of connected the dots, we would see sort of some of the structures that are causing bullying between students. So, yes, thank you. So again, that's a model we use in Bridge Builders Change to talk through issues together. It's not about finding the right answer. It's about the discussion. So why are problems the way they are? You ask these why questions to develop the tree and start getting deeper down into the structure. So you start with the problem until you see the structural branches and cultural roots. And then you see why these problems happen every day, so you can get deeper and start to try to change these things. So we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so here's the Midwest Academy strategy chart. It is only an example of a strategy chart. There are many variations, but we use this one from a wonderful resource, the Midwest Academy. There are columns for goals, long-term, intermediate, and short-term. So long-term goals are what we set over the year. They are year-long goals and what we want to see in the big picture. Intermediate goals happen in probably 6 months, about halfway through your project. You should meet your intermediate goals. And short-term goals are something that can happen quickly in probably 3 months. And you consider organizational aspects such as resources and what is happening in your group that you can bring to your project. The next column, constituents and allies. There is a difference between constituents and allies. Constituents are those who are affected by the problem. They're directly affected. Allies, though, can help you with the problem, but they're not necessarily directly affected. Targets are those who you go to who have the power to change what you want to see happen. So you use tactics then to help influence your target. And these are just ways of taking things from the abstract to the real life by working through this tree and addressing the issues that are in your community. For example, when our goal was to pass the Student Congress, we wrote down in our tactics column to set up meetings with targets, the school board members, that could help pass the Student Congress. So that was steps 2 and 3, educating others and building commitment. These tools help us educate ourselves and others and identify who we can build commitment with and how we will do that in our community. So now we're going to move on to step 4 with a boss.
Okay, thank you, Paris. Moving on to step 4 of Dr. Martin Luther King's 6 steps to nonviolent social change, we have negotiation. And to negotiate is to confer with another or others in order to come to terms or reach an agreement. So let's go back referring to the problem tree and the issues you guys came up with. Who could you connect with to help address some of your social justice issues? If you could, when you think of some, could you write those in the chat box so we can just further discuss those?
And while everyone's typing, I think I'm going to send through, some people wanted that chart and we wanted to be able to share it. So I'm just sending it right now while you're thinking about that and while you're typing.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. Christine says local nonprofit. Can you repeat the task?
Okay, yeah, just if you guys need to hear it again. What are going back to the problem tree and all the issues that you guys named? An example would be bullying. Who could you connect with to help address some of your social justice issues? And I know it's kind of like a question that we just put on the spot. So if you could think about it and then put it down, then we will talk about it. We have from Lacey, school administrators. Okay, awesome.
Jesse says other students. Amanda says teachers. Thank you, Jesse. Josh says athletic department. Thank you, Josh.
Hello.
Paul, counselors. Nicole, parents. Carmen, peer-to-peer education through art. That's also important. Matthew, clergy. Sylvia, health services.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So with all the things that you guys said, you can use intelligence and humor as you present your plan and find common ground to benefit the greater good. In regards to our work, we've used this step many times when trying to talk to school board members, policy directors, and other allies and constituents. And an example of how we use negotiation is when we work with school board members and policy directors towards the end of our Student Congress work. We had to compromise on a lot of things that we didn't really agree with, but it felt like we felt that we needed to kind of, negotiate and make that common ground to benefit for not just us, but everyone, every student in the Shelby County school system. So referring back to our problem tree, negotiation is located at the branches or the trunk of the tree, addressing the structure that sustains the problem. And that kind of sums up step 4 of Dr. Martin Luther King's 6 steps, negotiation. Now moving on to step 5.
Okay, so step 5, direct action. In step 5, you're asking, what are we going to do to take a stand? And now direct action isn't necessarily an action taken against the target. It's just another form of cultivating social change that furthers your project. Indirect action, we use a thing called people power, and this is pressure exercised through public demonstration of an opinion. So you're using your people that support you to help demonstrate for some change to happen. We use direct action to make our goals happen and bridge voters' change. It's different from negotiation because it's often an acknowledgement that negotiation hasn't gone in your favor. Our initial step, the surveying, is also part of direct action. It is the people power. We present the data we have collected to our targets as proof that the change is needed and wanted from students. So this is also where tactics are used. Tactics can be petitions, letter writing campaigns, school board meetings that are packed with students. We experienced that one a couple weeks ago. Signs, social media campaigns, all of those are very useful for engaging diverse youth. And there are thousands of direct action tactics. And so some can be artistic and creative and inspire the work that you want to do and to move forward. So that is step 5 direct action.
Okay, now moving on to the final step of Dr. Martin Luther King's 6 steps, we have reconciliation. During this step, you kind of have to agree to disagree. Reconciliation basically means the restoration of friendly relations. So when Dr. Martin Luther King created this step, he basically meant no matter whether you agree or disagree with someone, at the end of the day, you guys still live in the same community, and everyone, you guys, we're all brothers, and we should come together to work peacefully and constructive. And at the end of the day, the goal is to bring all people together. And an example from our work is going back to when I said in the negotiation stage, we had to come up with a lot of compromises. We sometimes did not agree with those compromises, but we decided to work for the benefit of everyone. So at the end of the day, with the policy, Natalie McKinney, the Shelby County Schools policy director, she didn't give us everything that we wanted. However, she gave us something. So at the end of the day, we shook her hand and we thanked her for everything that she did, along with her staff and Alicia Green. And because, like Martin Luther King stated, at the end of the day, it's all to give. The goal is to bring all people together. So, and also, we didn't get everything that we wanted, but we got our foot in the door, and we know what we have to do now in order to keep this work going and to get the things that we want. And also, as youth, this step it's very big because this step right here, closing it out, keeping those friendly relationships alive, is good because our organization especially, we're going to work on continuing issues, so it's good to keep those allies actively involved with everything that we're doing so we can have that good support system behind us.
Yeah, and just to, this is Dana, and I just was going to ask about, someone on the chat has asked, Brenda asked if you can give an example of something that you didn't get that you asked for. Can you also speak to one of the compromises that you made?
Sure, that's a great question. So part of our initial policy recommendation that had been taken from the surveys we collected from youth was that youth wanted two school board members to be students from the Student Congress to sit on the school board, and they wouldn't have voting power, but their record of their vote, which would be recorded in the records, and that would be a major win for youth. But some powers that, namely the superintendent, wasn't comfortable with that. And we discussed it for a long time and decided that a compromise would be to have youth leaders speak in the public comment section at the beginning of each school board meeting, rather than have a school board member sit at the table, I guess. So that's some negotiation that happened, and an example of us not getting exactly that what we thought would be best. But the other piece of that, I think, is that, you guys, part of that acceptance is knowing that the work isn't over just because you've made, you wanted to pass the policy, but you had to decide, were we going to walk away from the negotiation, or were we going to accept that, and then our next push is going to have to be for student school board members. and that recognizing that that might be a campaign in itself. And I think that also speaks back to the looping back in circles and having to go back to the process. So, and I see some comments about like demonstrating the cost of not getting what you want and where that might fit in. And I think the key thing that we focus on with negotiation and direct action and reconciliation is really thinking reconciliation is sort of something you're constantly striving for, and it's really important in youth organizing work because young people can be sort of written off as hot-headed or as easily distracted or, you know, quick to walk away, and that we all all young people will benefit if youth are respected and if youth are if we can break down all of those stereotypes about young people. So that being a force for the beloved community, as Dr. King would call it, is sort of key to that step. So we sort of bring that forward, and it's the spirit of not vilifying people, but naming the acts of evil and not, you know, vilifying people who are doing the evil. So that's kind of where it comes in. Hope that helps. All right. So,
all right.
So
oh, go ahead.
No, I'm going to pass it off to you after.
As you can see, it's Paris and Abbas from Bridge Builders Change is doing very significant social justice work in their community. Very similar, these 6 steps of Dr. King's nonviolent to social change steps is really similar to the IPARD cycle that we use for service learning on our side. And I just wanted to ask Paris and Abbas to share a little bit of the relevance of the 6 steps. I mean, you really alluded to it already about the work that you're doing, but really speaking to the rich social justice history that Memphis has in Tennessee and the current movements that you're doing now, especially just the passing of the Student Congress policy. So if you could speak a little bit more to that or add to it.
Okay, sure. So I started this work 3 years ago when I was a sophomore in high school. And around that time, Memphis City Schools surrendered their charter to the county. So that would mean our school systems merged together. And there was a big debate over this that, you know, a lot of disagreements and, you know, kind of some bad words said on both sides. But when I started working with Bridge Builders Change, we wanted our work to be a unifying act for youth in our community. We wanted youth to know that they weren't asked about the decisions, but they could have an impact going forward. And 3 years later, I guess, that we've seen that part of this unified school system is, you know, making sure that voices are heard that weren't part of the school system 3 years ago, and that the Student Congress is a huge step forward, and it's, you know, I guess kind of rare countrywide that they don't have these types of things everywhere, but Memphis does, and that's a major step forward for our community, and it's an exciting one that I look forward to watching as it moves and grows. So, Abbas.
Yes, so I came into this work last year, and this is my 2nd year. And Paris, she basically said everything, and I don't want to repeat anything, so I want to talk on a personal level of what this work has done for me. It's changed my whole perspective I have, like, on my city and, like, school, because at first, you know, I kind of felt like, you know, students, like, I didn't know anything about student voice, so I was, like, a kid in the school system was like, I don't care. I mean, I feel like we should just go to school, graduate. I mean, teachers run and administrators run everything, but, you know, I was very wrong. I didn't really know what there was about student voice or anything really relating to social justice within Memphis other than history. But the people that I met here, including Paris and some of my best friends in this program have, you know, I just was in a great situation to better myself. And I feel like over the past few years I've gained so much experience and knowledge to where I want to do something with my life regarding this work and helping other youth out. I always say this all the time, but I know Dana and Paris always say this, but I have my little sister. She's in middle school, and so my motivation for this work is I want her to feel the changes that we have when she gets in high school, because that lets me know that we've done something to better not just our students, but students to come. And I want this work to be as sustainable as possible. So I feel like this work has really benefited me and motivated me to push through any adversity, no matter how young you are, how unexperienced you are. So just on a personal level, that's how I just would like to talk about what this program is giving back to me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abbas and Paris, for sharing that. It definitely is all about student voice and student engagement and paying it forward, right? It's all about that huge civic responsibility piece. And I think, and I hope all of you can agree with me, that Bridge Builders Change has definitely been kind of that prime example of how really using service learning, right? The steps of engaging the community, really addressing the community needs to building towards social justice. So thank you for that and for sharing your tools and the 6 steps with all of us. So in the beginning, I had mentioned to all of you about where you see the cycles of service learning surfacing through the 6 steps to where you see the standards for quality practice of service learning really showing up. So I hope you all have been paying attention to that a little bit. I know that in particular, meaningful service, which is part of our standard, reflection, most definitely diversity and youth voice primarily speaks out to Bridge Builders Change and the work that they do. Definitely partnership, speaking towards the negotiation and your constituents and allies, making sure that your work is working, your progress monitoring, and then the duration intensity, most definitely in terms of getting these infrastructures to change. So that's all about the work that Bridge Builders does, and so I really appreciate the partnership in having Paris and Abbas and Dana join us today to really exemplify that in our work. And again, I cannot say enough that Paris and Abbas really being these young people making these changes within the community and really addressing that is key. So again, thank you for being that example. That speaks to my heart of really moving our young people and like you said, Abbas, of really engaging your younger sister, our siblings, our people, our young people forward. Lastly, I want to also highlight that for our National Service Learning Conference is coming up in April in our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., April 9th to the 12th. If you'd like to meet our Bridge Builders Change folks in person, I really encourage all of you to either attend, volunteer, send in applications to our conference and participate as much as you can. They're leading a workshop called Youth-Led Social Change, How Youth Shape the Future, exactly. So I really hope that all of you can join us for this monumental event. And if there's anything else, Dana, Paris, and Abbas, this concludes our webinar.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.